Nightbeat starts right now.
Terror at North Star Mall sending people running as shots rang out this afternoon. San Antonio police still looking for two people who allegedly shot and killed a man getting a haircut inside the mall.
Police making it very clear this was not an active shooting situation. People inside the mall at the time telling the night team's Camelia Juarez it is a scary day they won't soon forget.
Chaos erupted when gunshots rang out in the south side of North Star Mall just after 3 this afternoon.
Next thing you know, pop, 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 pop. You just hear shots going off and everyone's scrambling.
San Antonio police say two suspects shot and killed a man in his 40s while he was getting a haircut. Police are calling it an isolated and targeted shooting.
Two suspects come in and shoot him in cold blood, in the middle of the day.
Right after the shooting, two suspects took off on Rector Road and police were not able to catch them. Investigators are checking security footage for a description of the suspects.
There's just people out there.
Justin Astrand was selling perfume at a kiosk when he heard shots fire. He says he was finishing a sale when his coworker dropped to the ground.
I turned around and I saw my friend. She was getting out on the floor. She was yelling, and then I just put two and two together. So then I just ran out the building when I saw waves of people just running out the building. So it was really, really fast. I to articulate it, it was just a real scary moment.
John Martinez, who also works at a kiosk inside the mall, says he is shaken up.
It sucks that there's this stain at a good place here in San Antonio that I spend a lot of time out. And like anybody else, nobody likes to live here.
Now, there have been multiple shootings in the last couple of days that police are calling targeted incidents. Now, we spoke with police and they tell us that they do not believe that this shooting is connected to any others. Camelia Juarez, KSAT 12 News.
And just a few hours later, SAPD called out to Evers Road near Glen Ridge for another shooting. Officers at this scene telling us an argument between two men turned into a scuffle. Police say one man pulled out a handgun and shot the victim, then took off on foot. The victim hit in the stomach. A Good Samaritan able to give that victim first aid until first responders were able to arrive and take that man to University Hospital. Leon Valley Police also able to help SAPD look for that suspect, but so far, no arrests have been made.
San Antonio also say a 16-year-old boy was shot this afternoon on the city's west side. It happened in a parking lot in the 3300 block of Colima Street, not far from Castroville Road. Officers at the scene say the teen was inside a red pickup truck with another male when the suspect shot the teen in the leg. Police don't know what led to the shooting, but the teen was found on the ground and the suspect took off in that red pickup truck. SAPD's Eagle helicopter searched the area, but so far they still have not found him. The victim was taken to the hospital and police say he is stable.
And here's an update tonight on a deadly shooting at the Antioch Village Apartments. The Bexar County Medical Examiner's Office today releasing the name of that victim. He's been identified as Jeremiah Hardiman. Police say the 18-year-old was shot and killed yesterday at that complex on Upland Road when multiple people got out of a vehicle with rifle-style weapons and opened fire. Police Chief William McManus said the gunfire was a targeted attack, but Hardiman was not the intended target. A car with multiple suspects waited and shot at Hardiman and two other victims. San Antonio police say a crash overnight left a man trapped inside his vehicle. This happened around 2:30 this morning near the intersection of I-37 and Cesar Chavez near downtown. Police say the driver headed south on 37 when that crash happened. Firefighters at the scene had to cut him from that vehicle. He was then taken to the hospital and at last check was listed in serious condition.
An early morning stabbing sent a man to the hospital. Officers arrived to the 1300 block of Dahlgreen Avenue at around 3 a.m. between Castroville Road and Highway 90. SAPD says a man in his 20s was stabbed in the back at a home and was taken to University Hospital. He is expected to be okay. One person is in custody and being questioned by detectives.
Now to a developing story. U.S. officials tell ABC News two aviation incidents above the nation's capital are connected. A sonic boom heard over the D.C. area and a plane crash in Southwest Virginia.
The FAA says 4 people were on board. Virginia State Police say no survivors were located. ABC's Rhiannon Alley reports the NTSB and FAA are now both investigating.
U.S. officials say 2 D.C. Air National Guard F-16s were scrambled to investigate an unresponsive aircraft that was flying a straight flight path over the D.C. area. Those jets traveling at supersonic speeds, causing the sonic boom that startled residents from Virginia to Maryland. Those F-16s eventually caught up with the unresponsive aircraft, a Cessna Citation, a business jet. A U.S. official telling ABC News the pilot of that Cessna was passed out, and about 10 minutes after the jets caught up with it, the aircraft crashed around 3:30 p.m. in a mountainous area of Virginia.
One of an aircraft that has crashed with a total of 4 passengers.
It appears to be a case of hypoxia. Hypoxia is when a loss of consciousness occurs when there's not enough oxygen in the cabin.
But it has not been confirmed what caused the pilot to lose consciousness. Capitol Police say during the incident, the Capitol was briefly put on high alert. And a source tells ABC News the Secret Service was also monitoring the situation. Those F-16s took off from Joint Base Andrews in Maryland, where President Biden was golfing with his brother Sunday afternoon. According to the FAA, the Cessna took off from a municipal airport in northeast Tennessee, bound for MacArthur Airport on New York's Long Island. But the flight path shows the plane never landed, instead turning right back around and heading south before eventually crashing in Virginia. Rhiannon Alley, ABC News, New York.
Back here closer to home, the search for 2 girls continues to be the focus of an active Amber Alert. It was 1 week ago today DPS issued that updated Amber Alert saying 26-year-old Khadijah Falks is wanted in connection with their abduction. Anyone with information about that abduction asked to contact the San Antonio Police Department. Their number 210-207-7660.
Crime Stoppers asking for the public's help in looking for the people responsible for a bicyclist's fatal hit and run. This happened back on September 21st on Culebra near Grissom and Westover Hills. Police say 38-year-old Jeffrey Schaefer was riding his bike at night when he was struck by a stolen 2016 Volkswagen Golf. The car was later found abandoned on Coronado Ridge, and police are still looking to identify the suspects involved.
And Crime Stoppers is also looking for a suspect accused of robbing a cab driver. This happened back on April 11th at the Ritterman Inn and Suites on I-35. Police say that suspect was picked up in the medical center by a cab and paid half of their fare. Now, when they arrived at the inn, the suspect then assaulted the cab driver, took the money back, and then fled in an unknown direction. Anyone with information asked to call Crime Stoppers. Their number 210-224-7867.
Early voting in the city's runoff election is set to end this week. Constituents living in District 1 and 7 will finally decide who will represent them on the city council. In the District 1 race, current Councilman Mario Bravo is facing Suk Kerr, who captured more votes than Bravo during the May 6th election night. Marina Aldrete Gavito and Dan Rossiter are facing each other in the runoff for District 7 position. Aldrete Gavito received 43% of the votes to Rossiter's 21%. District 7 became open after Ana Sandoval resigned in January. The polls close at 6 tonight, and early voting ends next Tuesday. Election Day is this coming Saturday, June 10th.
All right, switching gears now to a look outside with live cam. A lot quieter out there right now than what we were looking at a few hours ago. We had a few different rounds of rain and storms push across south central Texas this weekend. One round Friday night and then another round as we headed into Saturday night. And then earlier this afternoon, we managed to find some strong to even a few severe thunderstorms, mainly in and just west of the Bexar County area. Now you can see right now, most of that activity is pretty much fizzled out. There's a few showers nearing the Fredericksburg area closer to Gillespie County, but for our area, we're pretty quiet. We're just going to keep an isolated chance for a few stray showers to pop up before the sun comes up tomorrow morning. Going forward into this week, daily rain chances will continue for some, widely scattered tomorrow and then isolated Tuesday and into Wednesday. Because of that, temperatures will start off slightly below average for this time of year, but enjoy it because as we see more sunshine take over later this week, those temperatures are going to start to crank back up. We'll get you all those details coming up in just a few minutes.
Thank you so much, Mia. Well, we've been following her story for months now. Mia Perez is a 10-year-old living with leukemia. After our story on her, Mia and a UTSA women's basketball player won the national honor of Teammate of the Year.
But as Mia and her mom tell the night team's Lee Waldman, that's not the most exciting thing happening in their lives right now.
On behalf of me and Haley,
thank you.
She would like to say the rest.
Thank you for all the votes. I know some of you voted endless hours. You have carpal tunnel now, arthritis. It was all worth it.
It's all smiles at the Perez household after the Teammate of the Year gala.
And just so you know, never order an Uber when you're at Boston.
Mia and her friend Haley Atwood, a basketball player with UTSA, won the honor of Teammate of the Year with Team Impact, a nonprofit that pairs collegiate athletes with kids with disabilities or severe illness. The award brought them to Boston for a gala to be recognized for their friendship.
Had mascots there, they had cheerleaders, they had a couple of, I think like ex-NFL players.
For Teresa, there was a simpler part to their trip that was her favorite.
Watching Mia roll down the hill. That was probably the first time she had rolled in grass.
Mia finished her chemo treatments just before they left. 2.5 years of hospital visits, blood transfusions, and 868 days of treatments. Finally, behind her.
This was her port.
For the first time in years, Mia was able to have friends come to her house without her mom having to worry about her getting sick. They had alpacas, signs out front, and handmade posters to celebrate Mia.
This one, pretty much all of them.
Now as a family, they can focus on Mia being a kid and catching up on lost time.
I don't want her to worry about anything. Just do your thing, Mia. Roll down those hills. Play in the dirt. Go eat at your buffet, and I'll take care of the rest.
Mia will still have to go to the doctor regularly to make sure she stays healthy. She says she wants her mom to go to the salon because she deserves it. Today is National Cancer Survivors Day, where people advocate for more resources, research, and legislation to improve cancer survivors' quality of life. And we're so happy that Mia is a part of that list of survivors. Back to you.
Still to come on the Nightbeat, getting to the hospital fast during an emergency could be the difference between life and death. The recommended transportation for first responders across the country for patients who live in rural communities. Plus, a near collision between American and Chinese warship, the latest incident increasing tensions between the two world powers, what the Biden administration is now doing to restore diplomatic relations.
And Ukrainian military forces gearing up to go on the offensive, what the strategy troops are implementing to gain more ground in the war. A new missile strike in the Ukrainian town of Dnipro has left at least one child dead and several others injured.
ABC's Tom Sufi Burridge reports the attack comes as Ukraine prepares for its expected counteroffensive against Russia.
Rescuers digging through the rubble after a Russian missile struck a residential building in Dnipro. A 2-year-old girl killed, according to local officials. 3 other children critically injured in what Ukraine's President Zelensky is calling a terrorist attack. It comes with Ukraine preparing for a counter-offensive, ramping up missile strikes on areas of Russian-occupied southern Ukraine. And Ukraine also now launching attacks over its border into Russia. 2 people killed by Ukrainian shelling in the Russian region of Belgorod, according to Russian officials.
We're just a few miles back from Ukraine's northern border with Russia in that direction. These are rearguard Ukrainian positions. And with Ukraine now striking into Russia, this area has become a more active front.
President Zelensky telling the Wall Street Journal he's ready to launch that counter-offensive, but admits it could take some time and come at a heavy cost. The chairman of the House Intelligence Committee says Zelensky has made the case that Ukraine is fighting for freedom and democracy.
He has rallied the West and received incredibly technologically advanced weapon systems.
National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan setting out his hopes for that counteroffensive to CNN.
We do believe that this counteroffensive will allow Ukraine to take strategically significant territory back from Russia, areas occupied by Russia that are rightfully sovereign Ukrainian territory.
And saying the Biden administration will continue to support Ukraine as it defends itself against Russia's ongoing aggression. Tom Sufi Burridge, ABC News, Sloviansk, Eastern Ukraine.
Back here at home, it was a stormy Sunday from the overnight hours all the way through the afternoon. Some of us got a little rain, some of us got a lot.
Yeah, we even had to monitor for a couple of minor flooding issues, especially across portions of Bandera County, northern Medina County, because we had another cluster of strong storms that developed initially just west of Bexar County in those areas and dumped anywhere between 2 to even 4 inches in localized spots, estimated by radar. Here's a little recap of what we saw throughout the day today. We saw some light rain start to move into Bexar County just ahead of the 4 o'clock hour, some stronger thunderstorms just to the west of Bexar County. You can see that here. That slowly started to work its way farther off to the southeast and then eventually fizzled out earlier this evening. But yes, we even had reports of some penny-sized hail up near the Tarpley area with some of those stronger storms that were able to develop. We had a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings, but thankfully all of that activity has now come to an end and we're pretty quiet out there this 10 p.m. hour. Now, of course, this followed a few additional rounds of rain and storms that we had move across south central Texas starting Friday night, as we've been able to get into a slightly more active weather pattern across our region. Here's a look at some of those weekend rainfall totals from one side of the area to the other. Del Rio picking up 1/2 inch over the past few days, 1.4 in Uvalde, a little over 1/2 inch up in Kerrville. Here closer to Bexar County, 0.58 officially over at SA International, over 3/4 of an inch on the east side in Converse, and check out Helotes, especially with heavier downpours that moved in earlier this afternoon. That was able to help that total climb above the 1 inch mark. And also because of that, felt a little good out there in terms of rain-cooled air, especially in and just to the west of Bexar County earlier this evening after that storm activity came to an end. Check out the difference in temperatures just from Uvalde, who was able to tap into some of that rain-cooled air currently in the mid-60s. But when you jog just a little bit farther off to the west, Del Rio, who didn't tap into this afternoon's thunderstorms, still sitting at 79 degrees. So that's a little cool difference, what we can find with rain-cooled air versus some folks who just weren't able to tap into it, unfortunately, today. All right, as we head into our Monday, it's not going to be for everybody, but a couple of isolated, even widely scattered showers and storms will be possible. We've got about a 30% potential in the morning. We're going to start off near about 67 here in town by 7 a.m. Then as we head into the lunchtime hour, still a 30% potential, temperatures climbing to about 80. We're going to bump that up to a 40% chance, I think, as we start to put some of that daytime heat to work. And you just combine that with a few more invisible boundaries lingering in the atmosphere due to the storms that we've seen today and the past couple of days. I do think some widely separated showers will be possible. A few rumbles, temperatures topping off below average because of that in the mid to maybe a few upper 80s in spots. So here's a look at our futurecast depicting what the radar could look like as we head into tomorrow. Notice early Monday morning before the sun comes up, a few isolated showers certainly possible, but coverage is expected to be pretty low. More of the same by morning drive time, but then watch what happens as we head into the late morning and especially into the afternoon hours. We start to put some of that daytime heat to work, then that 40% potential comes into play. Again, it's not going to touch everybody, but it wouldn't hurt to keep your KSAT Weather Authority app handy, and we'll definitely keep you posted. Moving forward, a 30% chance Tuesday and into Wednesday, and then even lower as we head into the back half of the week. And because of that, we see more sunshine return, high pressure takes over, and those temperatures will climb into the low 90s. So definitely enjoy the below average temperatures over the next few days. And really quickly, check this out. Beautiful sunset photo sent in from Taylor McClelland in the Woodlawn Lake area earlier this evening. Still had some lingering clouds from those storms and made for a stellar end to the day, guys.
Woodlawn Lake always has those gorgeous views.
One of the prettiest photographed spots in San Antonio by far. All right, Larry's getting in the room right now. He's warming up to tell you all about what's coming up on Instant Replay right after this. The 2022-23 NBA season is winding down, and that means we are getting ever closer to the NBA draft later this month in Brooklyn. And the presumptive top pick, Victor Wembanyama, is still playing ball in France. For a preview of what's on tonight's Instant Replay, let's check in with Larry Ramirez.
And Spurs fans, I think, are getting more excited every single day as we approach the NBA draft. So life is very busy for one Victor Wembanyama. He's about to play in the French Pro A Finals, then not long after that take part in the NBA draft, coming up tonight on Instant Replay.
Plan B. Step back 3 over the 7-3. Fall is good. Yeah.
It's good to see him keep taking it. You know, he's got to have that confidence. Oh, and there he is again.
And gets a dunk.
French phenom Victor Wembanyama was taking care of business on both ends of the court to help the Metropolitans 92 beat Tony Parker's Oswell, advancing to the French Pro A Finals. Wemby highlights from today's Game 4 on the way.
Sucks. It sucks. It feels like 2 points lost big time. But yeah, that's kind of the nature of the game.
San Antonio FC led San Diego Loyal SC 3-0 after just 16 minutes, and they appeared to be on their way to earning 3 points, but they lost their leading scorer and played the final 70 minutes a man down, and that allowed San Diego to fight back for a 3-3 draw. And as you heard, Jordan Farr was not pleased.
It'll be the right-hander on the mound this afternoon for the Seattle Mariners. Bryce Miller, Texas A&M kid.
The Rangers-Mariners game featured 2 San Antonio area baseball players in Seattle pitcher Bryce Miller and Texas third baseman Josh Young. All 9 Texas hitters in the starting lineup had at least 1 hit to help the Rangers sweep the Mariners right out of Arlington. And Miller, well, he had a rough outing. Plus, we've also got the Astros, the San Antonio Gunslingers, New Braunfels Canyon Softball, and Bernie Champion Baseball. That and much more tonight on a brand new edition of Instant Replay.
A little bit of everything packed into that half hour.
As usual.
All right, Larry, we'll look forward to it. Thank you, sir. Still to come in our next half hour, robots are looking and acting more like humans. What engineers are now equipping robots with to make them even more like you and me.
And demands an extreme and violent reaction to someone backing up in his driveway. What he did that has him in trouble with the law.
Happening across America, it was another violent weekend in Chicago where police say a woman was killed in a mass shooting on the city's west side. Chicago PD says 6 other people were also wounded. According to police, it all started when a large group gathered to celebrate the life of a man who was killed in a crash 4 years ago. They say that's when an argument broke out and multiple people pulled out guns and opened fire. Authorities say all of the wounded victims were hospitalized.
In Iowa, 2 men now unaccounted for following last week's partial building collapse. This after the body of a 3rd missing man was found yesterday. The victim is identified as Brandon Colvin Sr. His body was recovered on the same day as his son graduated from high school. The cause of the partial collapse remains under investigation, but days before the building came crashing down, inspectors did notice a brick facade had separated from the interior wall that it appeared ready to fall.
A scuba diver makes an unexpected find at a lake in Oklahoma. It was a live grenade. Authorities in Love County say the diver found a live CS or tear gas grenade canister in Lake Murray. The diver reported it, and the Oklahoma Highway Patrol Bomb Squad was called out to the lake to check it out. They were able to date the grenade to somewhere around the early 2000s. Their team says the grenade will now be detonated and destroyed at a safe location. Caught on camera. Check it out. Police in Florida say a car caught on fire in a mall parking lot, and inside at the time were 2 children. Their mother was reportedly inside the mall shoplifting. Police say she saw that her car was on fire and she started to leave the store. Other shoppers jumped in to rescue the kids. The children taken to the hospital. One had suffered several first-degree burns. The cause of the fire unknown right now. The mother was arrested for outstanding warrants in other counties unrelated to that incident, but she is also now facing aggravated child abuse and arson charges.
Palm Coast, Florida police say that's the way a man responded when an SUV briefly backed into his driveway. He charged out of his house to confront the driver, who ended up parking across the street. Things escalated when the female passenger walked onto the street toward the man's property. Police say surveillance video shows she did not step onto the property, but the man pulled a gun out of his pocket and pointed it at her head. Investigators say the man told police he was upset because he thought the vehicle belonged to a neighbor that he had trouble with. He was charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon.
Let's get to the latest now on an international incident. A Chinese warship nearly collided with the U.S. destroyer in the Taiwan Strait. The encounter captured on video.
It's one of 3 high-profile incidents adding to the mounting tensions between the U.S. and China. ABC's Elizabeth Schulze has more on how President Joe Biden's administration is working to keep both sides calm.
The near collision between American and Chinese warships caught on camera by Global News, a Canadian television network traveling on board a Canadian ship taking part in a joint mission with the U.S. in the waters separating China and Taiwan. The U.S. Indo-Pacific Command confirming that the Chinese naval ship came within 150 yards of the USS Changhoon, picking up considerable speed before cutting across its bow and forcing the American ship to slow. U.S. officials accusing the Chinese ship of acting in an unsafe manner and violating the maritime rules of the road of safe passage in international waters. The chair of the House Intelligence Committee is calling it unbelievable aggression by China.
They're trying to flex their muscles and advance authoritarianism.
Tensions are on the rise between the U.S. and China. Late last month, a Chinese fighter jet came within 400 feet of a U.S. reconnaissance plane over the South China Sea. And earlier this year, the U.S. shot down a Chinese spy balloon that flew over the U.S. The Biden administration is looking for a diplomatic fix to the souring relations, sending a senior State Department official on a rare visit to Beijing. But some say the U.S. needs to take a firmer stance.
So I think the administration needs to step up and make clear that China has identified itself as an adversary, and we're going to treat it as such.
At the time of the incident with the warships, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin was at an international security conference of defense ministers, including from China and Canada.
Our shared goals are clear: to deter aggression and to deepen the rules and norms that promote prosperity and prevent conflict.
But China's defense minister has called the U.S. ship's presence a provocation, accusing the U.S. of trying to destabilize China. Elizabeth Schulze, ABC News, Washington.
Back here at home, let's go back outside with live cam as we continue to quiet things down tonight after what was a noisy afternoon for parts of south central Texas. Temperatures right now here in San Antonio near about 70 degrees. Now, while we did see a few showers and storms push across Bexar County, thankfully we didn't have any severe warnings issued for San Antonio. But still, the rain was nice, even though it probably did send a few of us inside from some of those Sunday afternoon plans, but also look what it did to our temperatures. We only topped off at 83 degrees officially this afternoon, which is 8 degrees below the average of 91. We started off pretty seasonable near about 70 earlier this morning. Take a look at our temperature trend as we head into the upcoming work week. Still below average over the next couple of days because of some lingering rain chances, but then those come down and temperatures crank back up. So we'll have another full look at the week ahead coming up here in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Mia. See you shortly. A new study revealing the critical choice first responders face when it comes to transporting patients in rural areas. How the study results could impact future medical transports.